We fly from MDC Brooklyn before Diddy got there. Flew Con Air. That was an experience, you know what I mean? It was like a movie, bro. Like an out-of-body experience, you know what I mean? There was no fear in me on that plane. I knew I was a dude from Boston. I didn't tell on anyone, and I knew that I wasn't a deviant, right? I already knew from the street, bro. They schooled me, right? Lewisburg, I was like a fish out of water. And then I made my way to Allen when I got there, and the boys were ready. They had the care package and stuff. Right. Basically, bro, I just followed their lead. These guys, like, it's class acts, real deal, just gentlemen. I couldn't have been with better people, you know?
You got a moment when they see you down, there's no love and all.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Bounce Back Podcast. I'm your host, B. Luke. I got special guests with me. He might look familiar to some of you guys. To the new guys, maybe not. Maybe you haven't seen it yet. If not, check out the last episode I did with Joe Lawler. But anyway, he could tell it better than me. Tell the people your name, where you're from, and you know, a little bit about yourself.
B. Luke, first of all, buddy, I love you. I'm happy to be here. It's been a minute. Yeah, I'm grateful to be here. I met Bobby a couple years ago. I think I came across his podcast or whatever. I don't believe in coincidences. I saw what he was doing, and you know, right away, you know, I attracted to like what he was doing. I was intrigued, and when I saw what he was doing, I was like curious. And I think, you know, however I reached out and whatnot, and you know, I liked his message, you know, and we met, and you kind of got, you know, you put me and my buddy Devin or whatever, you know, you kind of set the wheels in motion, you know. And I think that's how it works, like, you know, attraction or whatever, you know. We can only manifest, I feel like, on our own, like, so much or whatever. But, you know, I'm okay with, like, you know, if someone's doing something that, like, that I think can help people and that, like, you know, is positive and whatnot, you know, because we've had plenty of negative in our life, you know what I'm saying? And even something different, right? Like we talked about earlier, like, it's all about challenging yourself and, like, stepping outside the box. And, like, we're definitely risk takers. So it's like, you know what? You know, what's more gangster and risk taking than like guys like us doing some fucking shit like this? You know what I'm saying?
Right, absolutely.
You know, so I get joy in that, and seeing you, you know, seeing what you do and putting, you know, the work you put in, stuff like that. You know, you inspire me, and you know, like I said, you know, we talk about the movement. I love how you talk about the unity. You know what I mean? And I think Boston, like, you know, Boston was already on the map, whatever. But you know, it's always been like, I feel like, you know, sectioned and stuff like that, and like kind of isolated, you know, and you know, it is what it is. But I feel like, you know, yeah, it takes an army, it takes a family, you know what I mean? I can't do it on my own. I don't want to, you know what I mean? So it's like, you know, I say, like we say, you know, if you got any fight in you or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, and you got and you want to get with it, and you want to fucking do something, you know, to level up and you know, have a purpose or whatnot, and possibly help another person. Like, I'm all about it, you know. And,
absolutely.
But yeah, if you want to lay down, like, we, you know, that's what we say: lace up or lay down, lace up or face down. You know what I'm saying?
Bro.
And that's why the bounce back. You know, we kind of, you know, that's the thing, bounce back. You know what I mean? Like, and what that meant to me was like, you know, the adversity, whatever, and then seeing your stuff again, giving people a voice and a platform, and letting people know that not only do they matter, but like, you know. I say to myself, you know, I challenge myself, and we just talked about it, where it's like, I kind of like say, you know, who's to say that, like, our story, like, who are we to say that our stories don't matter, or no one wants to hear it, or it's not worthy, right? Yeah. Like, I challenge people today, and I'm like, you know what, like, how about open your mouth, right? You never, you know what I mean? Like, take that chance, right? And you'll be surprised, right? And then maybe you'll realize you'll get over yourself, right? That fucking egomaniac with inferiority complex. We talked about that, like, we all grew up as, you know. And lo and behold, like, fucking all of a sudden, like, things start manifesting and we attract good, you know. So I'm just happy to be here, buddy. I'm grateful.
Absolutely, man. I'm happy to have you back, and it feels good to add value to something, and you certainly did that with the bounce back. You know what I mean? Every guest who comes on here adds value to it, right? Because, like, I was doing my social media thing before, posting my little workout videos, my little, you know what I mean, what grinds my gears kind of thing, just kind of talking my shit, whatever, venting, whatever you want to call it. But my shit didn't really start to blow up until I kind of involved other people and made it less about me, right? And started actually seeing the cool things that, like, my friends were doing, or people that I knew were doing, maybe not exactly friends, but like acquaintances, and seeing how the great things they were doing. And I was like, I want other people to see this. This is so cool. At least it was to me. And that's really how this started. So I appreciated you adding value as you have. You came by yourself, then you came with the crew and all that. So thank you. And however I can add value to you. So yeah, absolutely. Thank you for coming on, bro.
Oh, 100%. Absolutely, man.
So why don't you give the people
a little background?
Just a little brief, synopsis. I know we went through the whole story, but Charlestown.
Yeah, so
then you get locked up, federal prison, all that.
Yeah, basically my a little synopsis, long story short or whatever. I grew up in Charlestown, right across the bridge. Came from a good family, whatever. It was great growing up. I wouldn't change it for the world. It was wild, but it was fun. I wouldn't take it back. I feel like, product of environment, I think comes from neighborhoods like that, you know what I mean? Where it's like, it's not an excuse, but like, it's a factor for sure. Like any other kid or whatever, I went down that corner, I played sports, whatever. My buddy says sports to courts. As a kid, an impressionable kid, I went down that corner at 15, 16 years old. What does any person want to do? Any human being, right? Is want to be accepted, want to fit in, right? That's human nature, and that meant so much to me, right? The pressure was on. It was always pressure, you know what I'm saying? I grew up in Charlestown, right across the bridge. It's a cliquey neighborhood. It's a proud neighborhood, but like I've learned along the way there's two types of pride. Like there's there's ego and pride, you know what I mean? I never separated the two or whatever, and I found out that like what that meant, and I also found out that like there can be a lot of, with pride there can be a lot of fear, like masks and like things being swept under the rug and not talked about. And I feel like for some of the proudest people, places, and things I see today, that like ultimately, like I think there's a lot of fear behind that, right? And like because when people are scared, right, they'll like you put someone in a corner or they feel trapped or insecure, like they're gonna do whatever they gotta do, you know what I mean? And they're gonna fucking show their teeth, and they're gonna fucking let you know what I mean, what they're willing to do, right? And growing up there, whatever, it was great, and I went down that corner, and I had fun. I had fun, I wouldn't, there's no regrets. I don't have any reservations. I don't feel like I missed out on anything, but I had my run at the end of the day, like my youth, I should say, was like probably like, I probably had a 5-6 year run from like 15 to, and then at 21, right? I made the big times, right? Like I got exactly what I signed up for, like I've said before, right? I volunteered, you know what I mean? And I went off to federal prison, and I caught 111 months, you know what I mean? And, Joey Lawler from the Good Family, you know what I mean? Helen and Joe, and the two older sisters, and like, from East Street Park that plays hockey, and like, comes from a good family, and like, what? And, and that was it, like, so, right from the rip, like the character started being formed that I didn't even know was starting, and I think that goes for a lot of people, you know what I mean? And the reason I say these things today, thank God I felt enough pain where like it had to come out some way or another, and like when I took my chance and like just threw it out there and got vulnerable, it started saying things that either I thought might sound corny, or I was worried about what you may think that sounds like. When I suffered enough where I was like, fuck it, dude, you know what I mean? Right? That when the pain got greater than that was the blessing. That was like the game changer, because I realized like, that's what I needed. It humbled me, you know what I mean? And like when I started talking like that and telling the truth, that I'd never lived, right? Because of my choices, and like the based on that fear, and based on like the validation I needed, the reassurance, if anything, that was, I always say, like the most dangerous people, like there's people that are like let's say like someone, you grow up with a friend or whatever, right? He's good with his hands, right? He fights, he fights Golden Gloves or whatever, right? Like he'll box your ears in, right? And then you got a kid that like he'll bite you, you know what I'm saying? Like he's going, so.
And you gotta you gotta kill him. Like, right. If you beat him, he's coming back with a pipe. You come back with a knife, he's coming back with a gun. You know what I mean?
That's a problem.
You come back with a gun, he comes back with a tank or a ball.
That's a problem.
You gotta put some people down. And the boxer might just be.
Of course, buddy.
You gotta deal with the mental.
Absolutely, and where we grew up, you know what I mean? It's no different, right? Like Absolutely. You think about that, right? Like some of the most serious guys, right? Like you better believe whether they say it or not. You know what I mean? It's not like it's their story to tell. But I know, I'll speak for myself, like there's some deep-rooted fear there, you know what I mean? Because there's like people that know what they can do, and then there's people that like they're dangerous because like they're stupid. They don't give a fuck, right? Yeah. And when you don't give a fuck, you know what I mean? Based on that, and and you don't have that, you weren't able to form that identity, the self-esteem wasn't there, whatever the case was, and because you know how things it goes like that.
Yeah.
Like I say, I blinked. When I look back, like I have like glimpses, not in motion, but just like a very few things. More often than not, they were probably like traumatic things. You know what I'm saying? And or things that just didn't sit right, and very few like good things. But I look back and I'm like, I feel like I blinked. You know what I mean? And I was 30 years old.
Yeah.
There's no story to tell about me being in prison, right? We can do that, if we can talk that talk, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
right?
no doubt.
I'm always down for it.
No doubt. Well,
I go to meetings and they're like, oh, the war stories and shit. I'm like, I don't know about you, bro. I love a good war story, you know what I'm saying?
Right. Well,
right, but like there's a time and a place for that.
So just paint the picture about about how old are you when you're getting into federal prison, and then I guess some of your first impressions, because you did time before?
Never.
You didn't do no time before. You didn't do the whole juvie thing. And
Never.
Then
Never.
I did the whole step up. I guess juvenile to county to state, and then I stopped before I had to do the Fed thing. I was like, I think my train stops here. But so talk about that, like not really being weathered in the game of
I was green, bro.
Before you go, but I started 2 weeks, right, in juvie, 2 weeks, 4 months. 18 months, but paroled after not, you know what I mean? And then I got like 4-year sentence. You didn't do none of that, and then you get 111 months and all that, right? Enough to hold you over. So talk about that, man, being so young. And do you think it was like a benefit not having did maybe county time before, or do you think it was to your detriment, or you just had to adjust
and I like that. B-Look always comes with the fucking heat. No, I mean, I think honestly, I think it probably maybe a detriment. I mean, honestly, if you send me to juvie at that age or whatever, you know what I'm saying? I probably weighed about 120 pounds, you know what I mean? Like, and I was just quiet. Like, there was nothing in me. Like, it was all up here, and it was ready, right? I was plotting, I was scheming, and like, it was I was ready to go when that time came, and then it progressed real quick. But that's what I think. If to be honest, like if I was to go to a juvie, whatever, I think that might have made a difference. You know what I'm saying? But we can't. But it didn't happen that way, right? But no, honestly, because I think of some of you guys, and I hear the guys that have been to juvie and stuff like that, and I have compassion, and empathy, and stuff. But I feel like, I'm a firm believer that in these sayings that like I say like growing up or whatever, like the corny shit, right? We'd call it corny, right? Or these things that were silly, right? Like, and lo and behold, what I found out is like a lot of that corny shit and silly shit, right, was the truth. And like, what was everyone hiding from, and why was this misinformation being passed along, right?
Well, and you got to think of it too, because it's like these are like sayings that are centuries old. Like, doesn't just last centuries for no reason, right? But we can't see that, right?
Yeah,
right. That's stupid.
No shit.
Meanwhile, it's like Socrates said it, or some of the best genius minds, right? But we're sitting here knowing better as fucking
fucked
teenage
up a whole
city
fucking
kids. So it's crazy,
fucked up centuries of people.
Yeah, man. So,
but no, and like you said, if you don't know, you don't know. You know what I mean? And like, and people are looking to be led, right? I don't believe most people aren't born leaders. You know what I mean? I do believe that there's certain people that are, right? And but I feel like that's something, if that's what you're gonna be or whatever. I believe that we have free will. I believe that, but I also believe like your story's played. There's different roads, and then it can all go back to, you know what I mean? Here we are. All right, which way are you gonna go?
Right.
And this is, I think a lot of the time, I think the way I do and stuff for just like for protection, to ease my soul, to ease my mind, to ease the way what goes on up in here and stuff like that. Because like I said, when I think back, like it was a whirlwind where I went from a teenage kid, like down the corner that went from a good family and you know, my sisters were like well respected and like good kids, you know. Thank God I joke around like, you know, beautiful girls, pretty girls, you know. So I mean, I get a little hazing from the boys, you know what I mean? But my sisters will punch the shit out of them. So you know what I mean? So they left it alone. And plus, they probably like hoping one day to hook up with them, but that never happened, right?
No.
So like they kept it in house, but so yeah, I had all that support in the family, like, but right from the rip, I was like, there was no consequences, right? I was the baby. I was in. And I rode with it, right? Like, I didn't see anything wrong with it, right? Like, who's not gonna fucking accept that? And when I came to find out after the lesson that I learned, right? And it's not anyone's fault. And you know, I know, like, and we talk about this, like, you know, our parents, like, we tend to focus on bad because that feels, right? Bad doesn't feel good, but like, if you're gonna like, there's a flip side, right? So you gotta consider the good too, right? So we get the good, the bad, and like the indifferent, but like, as much, you know, our parents, I know my parents did the best they could or whatever. So it's like, you know, I can't look back and be like, Mom, you should have fucking, you should have punished me. You know what I mean? Like, you know, because at the time I was loving that she didn't. Yeah. But what I found out is I never grew. Yeah. I stayed stuck. I stayed, you know, immature. And like, like I said, once I went out in the corner and Joe became fucking, a character. Joe became like fucking what I thought you expected me to be, and I went for the gusto, and like I said, you know, at the end of the day, like this, you know, the fact was like the joke was on me because like I created that story all in my head, you know, and there's a lot of kids, you know, a lot of my friends, a lot of people like that, and you know, going back to the family, like I you know, I spent 111 months in federal prison, and you know, I was with good guys. I had a couple friends, older guys, whatever, that took me under their wing when I went in there. I joke around, like, when I first pulled into Lewisburg, you know, it was like a castle. I joke like I was like Andy Dufresne, you know what I mean? I mean, the sisters weren't coming after me, but but you know, just it was overwhelming. It was like, where am I? You know.
So paint that picture for me. Like, is that Lewisburg? I remember reading about that years ago. So I take it it's an old.
Yeah, that was just a holding because the bus. So I got pulled over in New Hampshire. Live free or die, right? I was going to a party up in Maine, right? And you know, because I was that important, right? I like everyone needed me, and like I needed to be everywhere, and like, you know, and there was no enjoyment in that, but I wanted to believe that. So I made my way to Maine or whatever, and we were going to have the time of our life. I never made it there. And
but I do want to talk more about like Lewisburg, like the set, like how did it look, and like that like, you know what I mean?
It looked like
old place, right? Like, you know what I mean?
It looked like Shawshank Redemption, bro.
All right, so paint that picture, right? So tell me, how old are you, and then get
I'm 21 years old. We fly from MDC Brooklyn before Diddy got there, right? We flew from MDC Brooklyn, flew Con Air. That was an experience, you know what I mean? It was like a movie, bro. I was probably like like an out-of-body experience, you know what I mean? The one thing I can say, like, it was more like shock or like, you know what I mean? But I attribute the craziness or the place that we grew up, I do attribute it, like, as crazy as it is, and it's like some of the shit that like the detrimental stuff that comes along with it. There's also, I feel like I love the good stuff. I love the stuff where I can be like, I don't know, it taught me that, like, we fly from MDC Brooklyn before Diddy got there, right? We flew from MDC Brooklyn, flew Con Air. That was an experience, you know what I mean? It was like a movie, bro. I was probably like like an out-of-body experience, you know what I mean? There was no fear in me on that plane, right? I was just curious, where am I going and stuff like that. Like maybe a fear of like the unknown, but like I knew I was a dude from Boston. I didn't tell on anyone, and I knew that I wasn't a deviant, right? I already knew from the street, bro. They schooled me, right? As much as they told me fucking a lot of false fallacies, they were telling the truth on some things. I went to Lewisburg. I was like a fish out of water. And then I made my way to Allen when I got there, and the boys were ready. They had the care package and stuff. Basically, bro, I just followed their lead, and I wasn't about to, like, you know, make waves or whatever, but these guys, like, it's class acts, real deal, just gentlemen. I couldn't have been with better people, you know. One of my friends, my friend Ricky Yark, he grew up in the projects in Charlestown, and like, he's the type of kid, you know, growing up, and Ricky will laugh about this. Your mother would be like, stay away from Ricky, right? And you know, and then it's funny because we end up together, and my mother would come down and, take Ricky out once a year or whatever. And because she knew that he was taking care of her son.
Right.
You know what I mean? That wasn't my world, bro, right?
Right.
But it became my world, you know what I mean?
So let's talk about that, right? So let's talk, the older guys you're a young kid, they almost take on like a paternal figure in a sense, not to say that, you didn't have your father or anything like that, but while you're there, your dad's not with you, right? So it's like, you're saying they're stand-up guys, all these good guys and everything. So I guess talk about what are some positive, like maybe morals or values that they instilled in you that maybe you still carry to this day.
Well, I'm glad you asked that, because last time I I got a little seasoned along the way or whatever, so I get a little under my belt to like be able to sit down and chop it up with you and just and not fucking see everything that's going on. You know what I mean? Because that's irrelevant. But I wanted to say Stevie Lillis from Somerville, Winter Hill. You know what I mean? His father went to just old school, and like you'll never hear anyone utter a bad word. You know what I mean?
No.
He's the guy. Like he was so loved that you know what I mean. And then when shit goes down, he's the guy that he gets fucking kingpin status. He's the fucking the dust dealer. He gets 22 years. He has people telling on him and shit like that. But I say this every day that he did, he taught me this thing, right? And I call him and Richie like uncle, right? Richie Gillis, right? And Stevie and Richie knew each other, right? And they're from different. They ran in similar circles, but they were Richie ran with the Italians, Stevie was with the Irish guys, but they had the utmost respect or whatever. They knew what each other was about, and I'd say Stevie was what do you call it, shot call? He was the captain of the team, right? He'd be he was like a kid at heart or whatever. He never. You talk about just whatever he had in him, you know what I mean? And I believe that's not like I talk about, God gave him that, right? Maybe he could feel some people go, look, you got a shit deal, you got a raw deal, that's tough, whatever. He never, ever, ever allowed that, certainly not around anyone else, you know what I mean? And, there were a couple times, whatever, that I'd see him, get vulnerable, whatever, when, but I love that, right? He had to get real close to me to be able to do that walk in the track. But what he taught me, right, he cared more about, I just knew I was safe, you know what I mean? He taught me everything that I needed to know in there, him and Richie. So, and Stevie played good con, Richie played bad con, where Stevie will give me he'd pat my back, Joe, you know what I mean? And just put me in a headlock, walk me in the track and talk to me. And I could talk to him, and Richie's no nonsense, right? You know what I mean? Stevie's better listener, and Richie's just about fucking Richie. Richie will go give me the silent treatment for 2 weeks, right?
Right.
And it's fucking Rich, I can get that at home, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
but I'm but he got his point across, and I knew there was love there. I knew he loved me, and I consider those guys family for real. My family, I know my family has love for them too, you know what I mean? And they're still in the area and stuff like that, Sometimes I feel bad that I don't go see him and shit like that, and you know what I mean? And I feel selfish for not doing that, because I know, but I'm a bug, dude. I'm I feel like I'm fortunate to have, I feel like I have a lot of friends, right?
Yeah.
And that's a word, but at the end of the day, I feel like I'm a loner, you know what I mean? I don't know if that makes sense to you, and it's weird,
Sense. Absolutely. So talk about that. You said you was, in Charlestown, similar with me. Before I ever did a day in juvie or anything like that, I already knew you don't reach over people's trays, you know what I mean? You stay away from the gambling, you don't stay away from debts, stuff like that. I already knew this. You want to call, maybe we're getting groomed for doing time or whatever. It is what it is. We're just kids guided by kids that are a couple years older. I don't take it personal. I don't think it wasn't adults manipulating us to think a certain way.
Yeah, right.
But
it was
talk
their
about
truth.
that though. You may have knew a few things, right? But what are some things maybe that you didn't know that when you get to where you were at Allenwood, that the guys were yo, you can't do that. That's not how it works. Blah blah blah. Not having the experience of county time or state prison, you know what I mean? You throw right to the big boys.
Well, off the top of my head, I tell you right now, because I do it to this day, and I think I did it for a long time, as to protect myself, or defense mechanism, and make light of things, and that's that's family shit. That's Irish. That's Irish family shit. You know what I mean? You either don't like pretend it didn't happen, or we're gonna fucking laugh at the most morbid shit. You know what I mean? We're gonna like and be like, wait a minute, like, and you're supposed to grieve or like, you know what I mean? Like you're supposed to process this shit. But I'd say, like, I like to, you know, like clowning around. I was a kid, dude.
Yeah.
Coming from fucking a New Hampshire County jail.
Right.
You know, that I stayed at so my family could see me, knowing that I was gonna be, you know, getting shipped out. And yeah, right. I think that's one of the big things.
Yeah.
Because what I didn't realize is like, but I learned quickly because like, the best part is like when some things don't need to be said. You know what I mean? Because I can understand like the heaviness of like a room. Like I could feel it. Like, you know what I mean? I know you're the same way. That shit speaks volumes to me. You know what I mean? Sometimes more than like talk. And especially when people that I love, people I care about and I respect, and yeah, like just acting up and because what I came to realize is like, you know, I was putting them in a position, right? Because at the end of the day, right, if I'm representing them, right, you know what I mean? So it's like, I realize like that, dude, this isn't like you're part of something now, right? And like that was a good feeling, bro.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because what I was part of, you know, you hear about stories like, thank God, you know what I mean? Like, I couldn't even imagine fucking hellhole, like, dudes in California prisons, and like they say, like, bro, I don't care who you are, you hit the yard, like, fucking, you're fucking linking up with someone, right?
Yeah.
Or you fucking, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You are. So, you know, it's like, but, you know, being with those guys and stuff like that, they made it easy for me, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But they also, like, let me know, like, fucking, it wasn't a joke, you know what I mean? They never glorified anything. I would love to get those two guys on here, bro.
Yeah.
And I think we could get.
I Richie
I think we could get them together.
I had talked to Richie before.
Richie, like.
I seen him at the I think that the Golden Gloves in Lowell.
Oh, he's
back.
the
We
best,
had talked.
bro.
He's a great guy, man. He's a great guy to talk
you have to get him on the right
day.
day, bro, and like it would be a like
Legendary.
it's gonna happen.
it
It's
would be
gonna happen,
legendary.
bro. You know what I'm saying? And like I want what I want Richie to know. You know what I mean? And I'll shoot him a text later, or whatever. I want him to know like his story, bro. Right? Like how many people that you want to talk about, like that, like being through like traumatic events and tragedy and like things happening, right? And yeah, everyone suffers certain things, right? And some suffer more than others, all right? But like the fact that he's still standing, right? And he's like, he's thought about, he's respected the way he is, right? Like you don't last that long. We talk about Johnny Bott, right?
Right.
That's just not you.
Hold on, real quick.
Yeah, show that shit. Gangsta Boxing Club, baby.
27 straight.
No, for real. Like that's just not like that doesn't happen that way. You know what I mean? Certain things, like it is what it is. Like you're not sticking around that long, whatever, and without having the fucking, you know, they have something in them, that character, whatever. And I wish Richie, I want Richie to know, like, because he's old school and he's like, you know what I mean? But it's like, I mean, dude, come on, Rich. Joe Molino's out there, you know what I mean? Right? Like, you know, and which is great. But his story or whatever, and he does help a lot of people and stuff like that. He's just more private and everything. But
it's not for everyone.
Yeah, no, of course. But I think we can get him. I'd love to sit on there, even if you can chop it up. You know what I mean?
I'd be absolutely.
He'd probably get mad at me. He'd probably fucking.
I'd be absolutely honored, right? And I want to talk a little bit
Richie
about like,
G, baby.
Did you ever have any encounters looking back where you're like, man, that could have cost me my life, whether that's you know, catching more time or potentially losing your life? You ever have any incidents in there where it's like looking back like, wow, that was more dangerous than I thought it could have been?
Yeah, of course. I mean, shit, I just saw something earlier, whatever. Baltimore cop like punched the dude, he hit his head or whatever.
That's
you know what
all
I mean?
it takes.
And the dude was like swiping at his hand.
Wow.
You know, which. Whatever. I mean, people are human beings, bro. Like,
yeah. So any fight, really.
You want to play with your hand, but anyway,
like
it's so shit like that where it's like, you know how it goes, bro. That's one of my biggest fears. In like, I'll say like something that like is a deterrent from going back. I joke around. I'm like, bro, since I was a kid, I don't know, growing up in the neighborhood, and you the same way. Like, I've always carried a knife, bro. Right?
Right.
It's just habit. It's like putting on my socks.
Right.
And I joke, right? And it's like, who am I? Like, if I stabbed someone in the ass, they would bleed out, right? That's my luck, bro, right? So, like, I feel like fucking if that my luck to go in there or whatever. That's why, like, anything can happen. And I feel like it's a normal thing, and it's like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not fucking ashamed to say it. It's like I'm not. There's no one here. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to impress no one. You know what I mean?
No,
that got me fucking. That fucking cost me at my 20s. You know what I'm saying? And but knowing that, like, the thought of like having those shackles and having it's like PTSD. Yeah. And we talked about your brother earlier, bro. Like, it's not dramatic or it's not like far-fetched to like. Once they have you in there, bro, there's a chance. It's not out of the realm of possibility you could never go home, right?
Which is crazy. Yeah.
And I'm not okay with that. Right.
Not me. No.
I'm not right. I maybe like I don't know. Maybe at one point when I was a kid, I would have. I maybe would have liked you to, you know, maybe think I was okay with that, right? But then, you know, I saw that's not what it's all about. You know what I mean? Like, fucking, we grow up, we say, you know what I mean? Like, maybe I had to go through that. Maybe you had to go through what you had to go through. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
But you know, and then there's some things that you can't. You scratch your head. You think about your brother and stuff like that, and you know, they say he's so blessed to have you or whatever. But you know, I don't know. There's always like that's why. Like the whole lace up, the bounce back and stuff like that. The thing I love about it, and I saw it right when I started watching you, is like I thought about like we all go through adversity, right? You know, it's not a competition. You know what I'm saying? Pain is real and like fucking it's relevant.
The trauma Olympics. Like,
yeah, bro.
People
right?
get caught up in that though too, but you never.
Of course.
You can't really. You gotta get through that. Man.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you can keep it, dude, right? Yeah.
You got worse trauma than mine, bro.
Yeah.
How do we move past it?
Yeah, right. Yeah, you can stand on the fucking podium, bro. I'll stand on the sides here.
Yeah, no doubt.
You know what I mean? But like, yeah, how do we get past it? Like, so how do we, everyone goes through it, right?
Yeah.
And like, I don't know, in my experience, like, we talk, right? As opposed to, like, just sitting with this shit, you know what I mean? Because, like...
I'm real big on an outlet, whatever that is.
Outlet.
Poetry, gym, whatever.
So that's a good segue. So the gym we talked about, you know, I say all the time, bro. I've self-diagnosed. I've went to, you know, any strength. You know what I mean? I'm not feeling good or whatever. Something's wrong. This and that. You know what I mean? You know, being a fucking wimp and like just like not feeling right or whatever. And you know, who wants to feel like that, right? So, in going and being like telling them what's wrong with me, right, as opposed to like letting them figure it out. And I always say there was no medicine, nothing ever. There was no pill, there was no fucking therapy, nothing ever hit like working out and exercise and stuff like that.
The natural highs, man.
And I think it's so important, you know, and I always vow to like stay consistent with it, whatever, because like, you know, just gotta fucking do something every day, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
but also, I've also tried to, you know, I've learned as I got older, I think I need to like give, and I think people should like give yourself a little grace, you know what I mean? Because we're hard on ourselves, you know what I mean? But yeah, and like you always gotta be moving. I feel like, you know, that's just who you are, you know what I mean? And thank God you do that. But as far as the outlet, like I say all the time, what got me through, like those guys put me under their wing. They showed me the way. They guided me. They've basically taught me life skills, bro, that I carry to this day. They showed me how to walk. They showed me how to talk, when, you know, even when to do it without like fucking the literal, you know, it was all in like love, like, and it always caring, like, you know what I mean? And I watched how they moved, and like, you know, it was.
So it's like more so they were leading by example. As
they led by
to being
example,
like,
bro.
Hey, Joey, this is how, you know, you just watch them.
They led by example, and I think a big part of it is when I watched how other people treated them, in that they weren't on no fucking on some like foolish time, like, you know what I mean? Like they were doing their bid. Right, they were trying to stay out of trouble as much as they could. You know, they were ready to rock when fucking anything happened. But like, you know, they they were just fucking, you know, they were writing their family. They were just trying to get through the time, whatever, right? And when I watched how people treated them when they weren't on that stupid shit, and it really intrigued me, you know what I mean? Because I was like, wow, like, and I think that was, in hindsight, I look back, maybe like you talk about the attraction, like, and being intrigued by that, I was like, wow, this is different, right? Like, these guys, these fucking killers, these lifers, these dudes that are like bad dudes, you know what I mean? Fucking, you know, Big Tone from fucking Camden, New Jersey, or fucking, you know, Baltimore or whatever, right? That would fucking, you know, rip your head off, whatever, and they're like, you know, hey, Richie, Stevie, you know what I mean? Hey, Joey, you know what I mean? And I'm like, damn, right? And it was all, dude, even the best part about the best part about it, and I joke around, and we were friends with the New York guys, right? But I always, just because of the population, I say this, right? And they're gonna laugh or whatever, but it's the truth, like, just because of the population alone, there's more leg hangers and more like wannabes in New York, right? But the real guys are like legit, right? Like real recognizes real, cut from the same cloth. So like those guys, you know, we were close with them and friendly with them or whatever, and you know, like I said, they always had the utmost respect for Boston, you know what I mean? But like, and we could joke with them, we could clown with them. These dudes that are fucking legit, like running families, you know what I mean? And that was their world, right? And we, you know, we lived the way we did, but we didn't bow down no one, and they didn't. And the one thing, like, it was nice because we networked, we met a lot of people and stuff like that, and you know, I don't know, I just felt like the realest guys, the ones that were that really got my attention were like the class acts, the gentlemen, and like those guys. I always attracted to them, you know what I mean? I always looked up to older guys to begin with. I feel like there was never really an opportunity like those older guys. There was never anyone that really could have taught me, you know what I mean? And when I met those guys, that's exactly what they did, you know? And, you know, they let my family know I was safe, right? You know, I respect and appreciate that or whatever. You know, as far as the outlet, like you said, the one thing, when I was with those guys, that was great, right? We would pass the time, right? Maybe we go in the yard, we play handball, we play softball, right? We laugh, we forget about where we are. Maybe I was lucky to fucking have to sit there, you know, and be forced to sit there and like sit with self, right? We couldn't knock on the door and be like, bro, I get it, I've had enough, you know what I mean? Like, I'm sorry.
Ready to turn in your sorry papers.
I don't care who you are. If you've never had that thought or that fleeting thought or that feeling, either you're a liar or you're a sociopath, right? And you're disassociated. Like, we don't have that luxury, right? I wish I did at times, but to have to sit there, I started writing. I always loved to write. It was always easier for me to write than to speak, right? It started when I was a little kid. I joke around. I look back, I used to write sorry letters to my parents and like go down in my fucking onesie, like Spider-Man onesie, and slide under my mother's door. You know, years later, I'm like talking to someone, they're like, why would you, like, what are you so sorry about, dude? What do you do? Like, fucking burn the house down? I'm like, yeah, you might want to look into that, kid. But the writing, it was always easier for me, right? That I express myself, right? Especially in, you know, that, like I talk about that heaviness, that silence, like in that, today, like, it's hard, you know, it was a challenge, like, to like be able to sit in peace and not get that fucked up with like something's wrong, right? Like when it's quiet and stuff like that, you know, because it was always so hectic and everything, right? And if it wasn't hectic, it was like dead silent, and it's like now I want the hectic back, like, dude, say something, you're fucking killing me, you know what I mean? This is torture. And that outlet, like with the writing, it literally saved my life, bro. The writing saved my life, and in my experience, I attribute it to this. It was as if, the best way I can describe it is, I was God, fucking my higher power, whatever, like something up there, right? He was something bigger than me, was putting the thought in my head, right, or the feeling in my heart. I was writing it down on paper, and then at the end when I'd read it, I say, it was like it was like a letter to myself, right? I didn't realize I was doing it, and it was like legit, like you can do this, like, so, you know, not literally that, but like in like creative poetry form, whatever, you know what I mean? Even as a kid, talking like nonsense or like talking like a fucking, tough guy, whatever.
Yo.
But like I needed that, like, you know what I mean? And it got me through it, like.
You know what's crazy you say that? Because I have a literal letter from the left. So I had to go, like I did my state bid. I got out in 2011. I went back to county for like 90 days once. And on the yellow legal paper, I was like, bro, you are better than this, blah, 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 blah. Whatever the hell I said. But it was like a paragraph or whatever that I still had that was like cool. I stumbled upon it when I was moving and stuff like that. But it was actually like like how you said, not literally a letter to, this was like, their futures, you know what I mean? And I actually had to sit down and
we
look at
talked
that.
about
It's crazy.
before, like manifestation and stuff. Like
Yeah.
I'm a firm believer in that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, the way I look at it too is I try, people, especially with like the attitude, the negative attitude about things. And I'm like, listen, if you go into a situation thinking negatively about it, you're definitely going to have a negative outcome.
You're projecting it, yeah.
If you go into a situation thinking positive, you might still have a negative outcome, but at least you have that chance of something positive happening. When you go into it with 100% negative outlook on it, I don't think there's any chance at all that anything positive is going to come for it. It's going to work out in the way that you would think.
Absolutely not.
Crazy.
and no, I love that you say that because, and that's a big part of like, I feel like the our podcast and like the message and stuff like that, where it's like, at the end of the day, like, we're learning, right? You know what I mean? Like, teach me, you know what I mean? Like, fucking, I need to be taught, you know what I'm saying? And, because, don't let me come up with my own ideas, I say, and that's what I say, like, I look back, I'm like, I don't know whether I ever had an original thought or not. I do know this, that growing up as a kid, right? These are the two, like the change, right? Before and after. As a kid, like all that shit that was like a lot self-inflicted or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, I know that was like it was a lie, right? I didn't know it at the time, but I bought into it, right? Mm-hmm. But like, and I had no say, right? Because I had no fucking balls, no heart, no nothing, right? But like, that's but I was willing to do whatever to let you fucking know that, you know what I mean? And it was never about that, and it was doom and gloom, right? Like that's a tough way to live, right? Yeah. And so I guess maybe I needed to learn the hard way or whatever, I grew up, I had a great family or whatever, you know what I mean? I never needed for nothing, I may have wanted, but maybe I had it too good, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
But at the end of the day, I say now that like the difference between now and then is like what I've learned, what I know now is that like I live in the truth, right? Mm-hmm. Whether it's like whether I like it or not, it doesn't even matter whether you like it or not. And that when I speak on that, like I'm okay with saying it and I'm passionate about it because I know, because it's not even from me, it's from what I've learned, that I'm telling you something that's true. I believe in it, right? And I want to share that and deliver that, as opposed to in the past, bro, like, what are we sitting around and fucking, you know what I mean? We're massaging each other's balls, telling each other stories about how fucking, how cool we are. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Well, it must been like such a culture shock too, because how you were saying, you went from like a household with like hardly any consequences to the baby or whatever, and now you're in federal prison where consequences. Yeah. First of all, just getting there. U.S., the Joe Lawler versus the United States of America, holy shit, consequences. But then the consequences of prison and the convicts and all that, very high stakes, life or death. So I mean, like that adjustment must have been quite an adjustment for you,
Yeah, man. I witnessed. I was in it. I was there, bro. Right? I got what I fucking thought I fucking thought I fucking needed. And I was like, fuck, right? And I had to fucking, just dig in or whatever. The one thing with me, like, I always, and maybe this, like, I don't know, thank God, like, and I probably get it from my, a little bit from my mother, father, whatever, and like, just being able, like, I feel like I'm a people person, right? Mm-hmm. And put it this way, when I'm off, right, I can, like, fucking hate people and can't stand people, right? And that's another thing I've learned. Like
I'm the same.
I can gauge myself, dude. I'm a people person.
When I want to be.
So when I'm irritated and shit like that, and people suck and this and that, today, what I know the truth, and I can't lie to myself anymore because the cat's out of the bag. bro, like, what's up with you, bro? Because people are people, and they're gonna do what they're gonna do, right? But my reaction, and I feel like a lot of us, and I think it's a thing with us where regulating your emotions. I never got a chance to do that, dude, right? So, and not being able to do that, next thing you know, like I said, I'm a kid. And now I'm 30 years old, fresh out of federal prison. Come home, and there was no parade for Joe, and there was no envelopes being delivered in my family. The rat race continued, and that was it. Now I had to either jump in or dive in. And you know what I mean? I was scared to death. No life skills and nothing like that. Yep. Still with like a 16, 17-year-old mentality. And it was either like I couldn't stomach being around anyone that like was gonna talk to me like I was still a kid or whatever, because I had grown, right? And like that shit to me didn't like. I didn't, that didn't impress me. If anything, I'd be like, like it would bother me. Or I had to fucking try to jump in and like step up and do this, right? And with no idea how to do it. And and it's been, dude, it's been a struggle, bro. Like they talk about like paying your debt to society, this and that. If you get involved in the criminal justice system, that'll haunt you forever, bro. It'll always affect you with jobs, with a lot of different things. To this day, dude, if me or you, if we get pulled over for a traffic violation, right? There's a chance we're getting locked up, right? They're going back to 2000 when Joe was a kid, and they're reading off this shit. I was a fucking big shot and all this stuff, and it's like, wait a minute, how do they get to do that? Number one, right? It's like I don't even get to say Your Honor. You know what I mean? Like I'm not a kid no more. You know what I mean? Like, does any of the good stuff count? And what I've realized, like, because it used to bother me and it would keep me stuck and I'd be resentful, where like, oh, that's fucked up, and like complaining or like thinking anything's gonna change. And it's like, at the end of the day, dude, I just gotta stay out of their way and not put myself in that position in front of them, because I already know how it's gonna go down. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And I can cry all I want about it, but
well, that's the thing too, especially when we make these decisions when we're younger to do, certain things that we don't know that it's gonna last for so long, right? When you're 19 years old, you do a crime or something like that, like you don't know that this crime I do is gonna affect like a job years down the road. Like you say, certain jobs you'll never, and like that's why I'm kind of like a supporter of the whole lifting the juvenile age too, because I feel like, first of all, the brain isn't developed to a certain age too, but it's like then about like, okay, who is it on to teach this to kids? Because unfortunately, some people are just raised by bad human beings, bad people. So, you know what I mean? Like, you're telling me a kid that came up with a prostitute mother, drug dealing dad, you know what I mean, gang member, all this, kid makes a bad decision at 18, 19 years old, he got to live with that for the rest of his life. When it's not only that people are not, instilling good things, they're actively instilling poor behavior and bad character traits into children. I just feel so bad. I mean, obviously there's a point, you start, of crime where, okay, maybe that should be held against you forever.
Of course.
You start taking people's lives or touching kids or girls, stuff like that. But it's like, you're telling me that 19-year-old kid that maybe just stabbed another gang member that was trying to kill him because he's in a gang, because his dad was in a gang, and his mom's whatever, a drug addict or a prostitute, and the kid made a bad decision at 19. You got to live with that for 80 years, whatever. People, we live a long time now, bro.
That's why I always hated, I never got into, I just didn't even think about it, right? But then, like, there was a time when I'm like, politics, I'm like, fucking, like, I got no time, right? For whatever reason, even though I didn't even know what it was about, but something told me. As I get older now, like, you can't help but, like, feel a type of way, because when you realize shit's affecting you, and, like, it's like if all I can have is a voice and a fucking opinion, like I gotta fucking, you know what I mean, at least fucking share it or get it out. But like even with this state with like mandatory minimums and shit like that, right? Like from fucking when the dudes, from fucking the England days when the dudes, it's like mandatory minimum, dude. Like that, every case is like, you gotta use discretion, right? When you have kids out of law school, right? And they're deciding on someone's fate, their future, their life. And it's basically, right, if anyone knows the justice system, it's a mock fucking trial like they're fucking in school. And it's like, it's pretend. And the judge is telling them how to do it. Oh, no, you got to do this, right? Like, you don't stand a chance, bro, right? And, like, this kid here, like, he's fresh, like, his balls haven't even dropped, right? And he's going by the book, dude, right? You know what I mean? I don't fucking, I'm not mad at him, you know what I'm saying? But, like, it's just like level the playing field, bro. Like I say this, I played cops and robbers growing up. right? I lost, right? I fought the long law one.
Yeah.
When I got caught, dude, it's like, all right, you know what I mean? Like, there was no, like, fucking, wait, you know? Like, listen, that's what we did. Like, that's as nuts as that sounds. But, like, make it fucking fair. Make it make sense, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I've been hearing that a lot lately. Make it make sense.
Right.
And I agree with you, and we've talked about this last time. And I think it's a good topic to actually bring up, right? As much as it's fucking, it makes you sick, right? Talk about, you know, if you don't think the devil's real, bro, like, when I was away, they had, I would always use this as an example, an analogy. And the reason I'd use it is because I wanted the person that I was telling to know, like, this ain't me griping, whining, complaining, or like, you know, woe is me. I'm from Charlestown, bro, right? So I'm going to give you a good, so you're going to get the point here. Let's say you got a young black kid, right? From fucking wherever, Chicago, fucking, you know what I mean? New York or something like that. Doesn't matter. That kid's 18, 19 years old. He gets caught for selling crack, right? He was out there, he was running, he was a runner, this and that. Should you sell crack? No. Am I an advocate for fucking that? No, right? I sold drugs. Do I think it's cool? Do I think it's right? No, it's fucking wrong, right? But like, and like how fucking obnoxious and ignorant and immature I was, like I was okay with like the consequences of that. You know what I mean?
Justify it too.
But yeah, and at the end of the day, so now you got this kid. He gets caught for crack, right? And although that's bad, right? And he needs to get sent to prison, right? Right? There got to be some type of consequence, right? And, you know, that's cool, right? I get it. There has to be fucking law and order.
Absolutely.
Let's say hypothetically the kid fucking was trying to feed his family, you know what I mean? Trying to get some bread or whatever, you know what I mean? Let's say he was just fucking misled, like he didn't have any role models, you know what I mean? He's still wrong, and he'll still. All right, you want to fucking punish him, whatever. That's fine. You want to teach him.
But the
a
time is the
You
punishment.
want to
All
teach
that
him
shit
a lesson,
afterward is
bro.
crazy.
You want to teach him a lesson. Number one, let the punishment fit the crime, right? So how do you tell me, right? And I witnessed it, right? And this is how sick this is, and this has been going on for a long time. And I'm sure a long time before that, and they just hit it better or whatever they did, but like it needs to be talked about. And they send this kid, this black kid, this hypothetical situation, they send him away for 25 years. Throw away the key. What future, what chance does he stand, right? Right? You want to talk about rehabilitation, bro? Rehabilitation, bro. You're going to be 50 years old. You know what I mean? That's asking a lot of someone. So let the punishment fit the crime. But here's the thing. On the other hand, when this kid's getting 25 years without a flinch, right? Without even blinking, right? Throw him away, right? And then they have a rehabilitation group for deviant, predators, fucking child molesters, right? In the low, when people are getting short and guys are trying to go home, they all flock together and like, yeah, you can fucking go out and kill every one of them, right? But like, does anyone want to do a life bid for some maggot? They would have rehabilitation groups in the prison. Let's be honest, right? Call a spade a spade. There is no rehabilitation. That's why that's such an awful thing. That's why it's so devilish and like so fucking rotten, and so that's why it is so awful, right? The black kid, 25 years, you forgot about him fucking, right? Yeah. 5 minutes ago. But now you got these guys. We can rehabilitate them? Absolutely not. And they're getting a slap on the wrist. They get 3-4 years, right? You got politicians, judges, like people in power, authority, stealing fucking innocence, right? You know what I mean? Yeah. And it's like the elite are like, what is that, bro?
Yeah, make it make sense. Like
what is that, bro? Right? Not for nothing, bro. If having money, right, somehow turns you into a fucking creep, bro, you can keep your fucking money. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely, man.
Right?
Keep your money.
You make it, we'll steal it from you.
You keep your money, I'll just keep being funny.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, I get it though, man. I get it though, too, because it's like, I don't know, man. These are.
You think about, I mean, I'm sure that
shouldn't be lumped.
Hits home with your brother, dude.
Certain people shouldn't we shouldn't be lumped in. Like all criminals shouldn't be lumped in like that. Like,
not at all. You can't generalize, dude. You can't do that.
It's just there's levels to it, man.
Yes.
There's levels to it, and but the thing is with those people is because obviously. I don't know what it is. Yeah. I don't know what it is. If it's because a lot of the maybe people in power are actually like that. The stuff we're finding out now with the Epstein files and all that stuff. So I don't know what it is, but these people, when they get to the jails, besides maybe like the 1 or 2 COs or whatever that might look the other way, so dudes can handle business. Like for the most part, the administration pampers them and favors them. These sick individuals, at least that I've noticed in county and state. And then I mean, it seems like that way in the feds if they're having programs and all that stuff. Like they get favored.
It's actually disturbing.
Crazy.
It really is. You know what I'm saying?
Like, how do they get favored by the administration?
It's disturbing.
A little.
But that shit there, that's what I mean about like, Bobby. There's so much like there's so many distractions out here, right? There's so much that goes on, right? And like guys like us, like we don't need much to like give us something that we can feel a type of way, especially like you know, like I'm not gonna lie, like fucking every so often or whatever, right? It feels good to be like, because that's right to me. Like it's like I'll sit here all day and like I'm not gonna second guess myself after saying what I say like about that. Yeah. And like I don't think I'm gonna change the fucking world, right? Right. But like I'm not gonna be quiet about it, you know. You still innocence. You like that's not worse than fucking someone selling drugs, dude. Right. You know what I mean? And like you said, the scary part to me, and then we'll fucking get out of this rabbit hole, is that it seems it only makes sense that like if that's the case, then the people that are fucking in authority, that are fucking making the laws and doing this, are they on their team? Like, exactly. There's something wrong there. You know what I mean? Exactly. And it's like it's tough, man. You know what I mean? Like we're out here fucking just trying to get by or whatever, trying to do something positive, have a purpose. I think we've been able to do that. You know, I think that what I got away from it earlier, but you said about like, you know, just surviving and stuff like that. Like I always go along with people, bro. You know what I mean? My buddy, Devin would say, right? Yeah. Shout out to Devin. Yeah. Devin's taking a mental health day, but you know, he'd always say, he's like, Joe, like he's like, dude, like the black guys love you, right? He goes, you say the craziest shit or whatever, and it's like they just, I'm like, I don't know, bro. You know what I mean? I goes, yeah, you love me. I tell Devin all the time, like, I'm like, Dev, you know? I goes, Dev, you know you're black on the inside, right?
Well, so I wanted to touch back too on like the.
But I always go along with people, so I think that helped me, you know. Right.
Well, like you said, the person, you know, selling drugs and all that shouldn't be, you know, lumped in with the people doing the worst of the worst. And you got to think it too. It's almost like even the people buying and doing it. It's like, okay, it's like you almost, because that's illegal. Now, I feel like for me, it's like, okay, you do one thing illegal. Now you're in the game. Now you got to go by these rules, right? Now you're a criminal. The no snitching. Oh, you know, you're not a civilian no more. Yeah. Even if you're just using drugs, that's illegal. Yeah. So I know it's a health thing, but it's illegal too. Yes. So I think that's why a lot of people, they start to go down the, you know, criminal path and all that stuff. And then obviously to support the habit, some people will not just getting money and all that stuff too. But it's just like, I don't know. There's different levels to things. I feel like a lot of people, some people probably would have been criminals anyway. Some people, it's because of the addiction. They probably would have never been criminals before. Certain people, you can see it because I like, you know, in the city, man. Like before, dudes were getting high. Like dudes were robbing people with knives, like for fun or whatever. You know what I mean? Just as juveniles or whatever. But you know what I mean? But that's before being an addict ever came in. Then you see these cats. You go upstate. These cats from the suburbs, who probably would have never ever been involved in anything like that, but just they got an addiction habit. Yeah. You got Maddie. You got the W. Now you got Matty T fucking in there on some gladiator time coming from Cape Cod. He's like, fuck this, bro. And who knows? And maybe part of that
he's the most dangerous one in the room.
I love Matty, man.
You know what I'm saying?
He might even be here today, man. But yeah, you never know, because that's what I learned too. Even my first county bid, I'm like, don't sleep from the suburban cats. Some of them probably, first of all, might have played football their whole lives, all juiced up.
Don't get it twisted,
but then some of them might have that, I got something to prove too, because I'm not from Charlestown. Like, you could come in from Charlestown and be good and probably just get with the other Charlestown cats. You got your table at Walpole. You don't got to put in work. You know, whereas this other cat might come from some town you never heard of in Western Mass, and he got to feel that way.
And you know, it's funny you say that. I think for me, like, I remember growing up and like you talk about the clickiness and like it's great. Like, you had tight-knit community. Sounds good, right? And there are perks, right? Like that's cool in a lot of senses, right? Everyone knows everyone, and then everyone knows everyone.
Everyone's
Everyone knows
fighting with
everyone's
each other,
business,
too.
right?
Yeah.
And like, so and people are people, right? But I remember even growing up, like, you know, I had family from Medford, right? And I like to bounce around. I like adventure, you know what I mean? I remember like even going to Southie, like it was like a bigger version of Charlestown, and I'm like, you know, it was just like, wow, like another land, you know what I mean? And and I feel like it was like a threat to a lot of my friends, bro, right? And like I remember I'd come back and they like try to like diss me. They'd be like, "Oh, were you in, you know, Southie or in fucking Medford?" And I'm like, "Yeah, dude," you know what I mean? But like I knew even at the time, like you're in back, like, dude, like, are you saying that out loud right now? Because they were stuck, bro, right? Like they were stuck, and I'm like, thank God, I wasn't like. I may have fucking lived in fear and fucking because of that, like made some choices, but at the same time, like, you know, I also had the courage to like fucking, you know, step outside the box and not be like, as much as like I followed the fucking, you know, I bought into the fucking bullshit, you know what I mean? I always say I checked all the boxes, you know, I signed up and fucking like, you know, and I went for it and like, you know, and then I realized it wasn't always cracked up to be, you know what I mean? Like, that's how nuts I was. That's how insecure I was. That's how lost and, like, confused and basically fucking, you know, insecure I was that, like, I needed you to know, right? That, like, so I went to the top and, like, what that looked like means nothing, right? And if it did need to mean something to me, then I'm a jerk off, you know what I mean? And I'm certainly not that. But, and to be able to sit here today or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, we're lucky, bro. Why are we here and a lot of people that we know aren't? You know what I mean? Exactly. That's not something like, oh, like for real. And like, I look at it like this. I double down on that and say, if that's the case, right, how do we honor them, right? Mm-hmm. Right? Like, all right, like now you give me incentive, right? I'm here, motherfucker, right? Mm-hmm. There may be days when I'm like, you fucking motherfucker, man. I wish I was where you were, right? And that's like some real talk, right? Those are dark times. But like we don't get to decide, bro. You know what I mean? Our time comes when our time comes. But while we're here, it's like we're gonna, you know. I just want to fucking let's make it worth it, dude. You know what I mean? All the time that we wasted and stuff like that. And like I said, bro, you see it, and that's what I love about watching. I love seeing dudes get on that are like these dudes, like these dudes are the real deal, right? They're about it. They're fucking. Right? They're delusional. They're fucking angry. They're fucking right. They're fucking. They're ready. They're ready to fucking. They're ready to go to war. Maybe they don't even know what they're going for, but like they feel something and they're fucking passionate about it and they need to get it out. And like you give them that platform and seeing dudes come out right out of the woodwork, and it's like, I don't know about you, bro. It gives me a good feeling because it's like. For all the haters and all the fucking clowns out there, right? No one ever says nothing. No one's ever come up to me and said anything, right? Right?
Different. It's different on it.
No, honestly, you know what I mean? So, listen, if you do, right, hey, I respect that, you know what I mean? At least I know you're not a coward.
Right, dude.
But to hear, like, I feel like you've gotten people, like, I feel like you fucking started a movement where, like, you know what I mean? Dudes come, and it's like, you know what I mean? And I see them, and like, that wouldn't have happened, dude, if it wasn't like displayed, like, you know what I mean? It's like, and you earn the respect you did, and you carry yourself the way you do, and you speak the way you do, and like I said, you make people comfortable, and I think that's the most important thing. And I think I think in my case, that I've been able to survive ultimately, because like I get along with people, bro. You know what I mean? No. And I'm not trying to, you know, I don't want to hurt anybody. You know what I'm saying? And you know. I don't know. People, there's more. I like to believe there's more good than bad. You know what I mean? But you know, none of us are immune to fucking either one, bro.
Like I'm so much
more attractive.
Conflict with myself a lot of times. I don't need to be in conflict with other plastic. I'm already fighting a crazy battle in my head, bro. Like, I don't need to be fighting other people's battles and all of that stuff. So, but I appreciate the kind words. If you even say like certain stuff like, yo, you inspired me. Like, cause I saw somewhere like. That was like to have the ability to inspire people is like it's a rare thing, and it's like, I don't know, for me it's a cool thing when people say that, like, yo, you inspired, whether it's to work out because I do my work, you know, you get me motivated, you make me want to work out. Like, that's the biggest compliment that I feel like I could get, because I feel like not everybody can do that, and that comes probably through God. At least that's how I'm looking at it. You know what I mean? So for people to say that, and then for every person who tells me like, "Yo, B, you inspired me," I know there's at least a couple out there that just for whatever reasons, just uncomfortable telling people stuff like that, which is fine. You know, I might not even know them, but somebody out there definitely was inspired by me.
No.
I feel like for every one person who tells me, there's a couple who was. So it's like, that's dope to me,
that's
bro.
that's
You know what I
amazing,
mean?
bro. And that's the shit that I talk about that we weren't talking about down the corner. That'd be like fucking like that would be you can't talk about that. You know what I'm saying? That wouldn't even be if that was thought about, you'd be like, I'll be right back. You know what I mean?
Right.
But that's the shit that like people like to talk about it. It's like fucking,
cool.
And then it's funny too. It's like, what do we think was gonna happen? Like, were we gonna go up in flames? We're like fucking, all of a sudden everyone's gonna fucking
We're gonna retire.
jump.
So,
But it's crazy to think about it and all. I know that's why I can say like, there's something to be said that when you can make it through, and I feel like I like to believe, like, that's why I believe in those sayings. God gives, he knows who his soldiers are. He never gives more than he can handle. And like, to be able to like, to sit here and, survive what we survived or whatever, you know what I mean? And I talked about it the other night, but like, stick around long enough and like, and keep your foot on the gas and just like grind it out, where like now surviving, I want more, bro.
Yeah,
now I want to thrive. How do I thrive? How do I thrive, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Right? The attempt in itself, bro, I'll be okay with that, you know what I mean? Absolutely. I try today like not to limit myself and not to like, set myself up for failure or even like settle for less. But and try not to make the expectations too high, but I try to give myself a little grace and know that like, bro, like, you know what you're doing, bro. If I can put my head on the pillow at night and like, and I don't have to lie to myself, you know what I mean? Because I'm not sleeping if I have to do that,
Right. I mean, some people will never make it to the top of Mount Everest, right? They say you could go by there and you might be going by people that have already died, but it's like, whatever, I'd rather die on that mountain trying to get to the summit, even if I never get to see the view. Oh, well, it almost brings me back to like the 50 Cent, get rich or die, I'm gonna die trying, you know what I mean? And being happy and feeling enough self-validation and enough fulfillment in the journey itself, and just knowing like, like he says, 50 shot, like let my tombstone read, I tried. You know what I mean? Everything was from the heart, bro. So, no, I think that's a big thing, is you gotta fall in love with the journey. You gotta, because people want the helicopter ride to the top and get dropped off there. They don't want to strap up and put the spikes in or whatever it is. I'm not a mountain climber, but I'm trying to make a...
I get it, but what I found out is that's not how it works. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
But that's what I was trying to say.
Top as much neither. Because you just got the ill helicopter view.
Of course.
Now, why do you care about being on top of the mountain? But if you climbed...
Yeah, now what? Absolutely. No, I was going to say that, like, to be able to get here and, to go through what you go through, whatever. And, see, dude, every time I come on here, Devil's I always have a fucking... the angel dust disorder. ADD, dude. I always have a moment, right? I had to dot my head. It'll come back at some point.
I have about 30 of those a day.
But Bobby, to say, to honestly, genuinely be able to sit there and say, I'm blessed for the pain. Like, I'm grateful for the pain, dude, because I wouldn't be, and like today, like, listen, they said, I finally realized that, like, no matter how I cut it, like, at the end of the day, you can be the best friend, the best son, the best dad, the best fucking brother, sister, husband. Like, you can be loyal, all these things, right? But, like, a lot of things are irrelevant because some things are bigger than love, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And, even if the intentions are there, it's like, those good intentions. But to be able to be, like, grateful for like, what you endured and stuff like that, because it's like, you wouldn't be, you know what I mean? It wouldn't make you who you are.
Exactly.
And today I can say, I don't wake up every day and be like, fucking, woo! But I tell you, it's been a long time, and I can't remember the last time I woke up and didn't want to do it, bro. Yeah, you know what I mean?
That's true.
And I wouldn't wish that on anyone, and that's why, that's what gives me hope, you know what I mean? I need you. Yeah. I hopefully, you know what I mean? You need me, and like fucking, and there's people out there. I just want people to know they don't have to do it alone and stuff like that. That shit fulfills me, bro. I used to chase money as a kid. You know what I mean? I did that for a long time, right? I've been more happy with fucking, with just fucking being a fucking regular.
Yeah,
We're going week to week without all the fucking headaches and shit like that, right? No one blowing up my phone, not fucking having to chase this guy down, that guy down, not living a fucking just a stupid lifestyle, right? Being paranoid, looking on my shoulder, right? The peace that get, like, that's priceless, bro.
Yeah.
You, like, today I protect my peace, you know what I mean? I see that you do that.
You really gotta go through it to get through it, for sure. You know what I mean? Like, anytime I get myself in situations where that seems very painful, and it's almost, things sometimes get so bad where it's almost a relief, and it's just like, yeah, love you too, God, because I know that like you said, he puts the toughest battles to the realest soldiers. But sometimes you don't want to be the realest soldier. You just want to fall back.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah, it's like, bro, come on.
It is what it is,
Yeah.
man. But whatever.
It's like, yeah.
I love that you love me too, man. But I really want to talk about the Lace Up podcast, bro.
All right,
So let's talk about that.
100%.
How did this start? And then just go through what's been some of the obstacles, some of your favorite parts.
So Lace Up Podcast, we started January 1st of 2025. We had our first guest on. Who we had? We had Jake Scally on. Jake, shout out to Jake.
Absolutely.
He does the Danny videos and stuff like that, right? He's a character, you know, and I love it, you know what I'm saying? And I love the creativity. I love thinking outside the box or whatever, you know. And he's as sick as the rest of us. He don't have to be fucking.
Yeah.
He's doing that as a joke or whatever, but yeah, he's still untreated.
I mean, but monetize your pain. People don't go through pain for nothing. If you're gonna have to go
100%, bro.
Monetize it at least in a way that's respectful enough and true to who you are.
And the one thing I want to bring this up because I think it's pertinent. What's out there today and has been and ain't going anywhere. That like when I first saw Jake's video. My first reaction, like my gut instinct, like I was like kind of taken aback, and I'm like, that's kind of fucked up. Like, you know what I mean? I didn't know how to feel, but I knew I didn't feel. It wasn't like, oh, that's fucking funny.
Right.
And I was like, all right. I gave it I watched another one. I just fucking left it alone. And then one day it hit me. I'm like, you know what? Like, it really doesn't matter what I think, but I was like, that's kind of genius, bro. Because, like, alcohol, like drug addiction, what goes on like in this everywhere, right? But like the epidemic, the problems, right? Like the shit that's not going away that has been there and like that's been swept under the rug. It's like, what do you think if we don't talk about it or if we fucking shut that down and like, oh, you can't do that. Why can't you do that, bro, right? Like, why can't you, right? Like
comedy in general has gone that way, but
here's the thing, right? Maybe it's dark humor, this and that, right? Oh, you can't do that? Well, I hope that the person saying that, you better be out there on the street, you know what I mean? Like, helping people,
what
right?
Are you doing?
Number one. And it's like, I don't know, it's all perception. Maybe there's a dude out there that's hanging on that still has a little bit of dignity, a little bit of life, a little bit of incentive that sees that video, right? And it fucking it challenges him, it charges something. And he's like, I don't want to look like that, you know what I mean? And realizes that like that's a bad look. Like maybe kids see that and be like, I don't want to look like that. You know, and I'm sure there's been a lot of people in the past that have seen things they didn't like and didn't want to be like that and turned out just like that, right? So of course there's more to it, but I don't believe that like I'm a firm believer, like at this point, dude, let's put it in people's faces, bro, right? Certainly let's talk about it, right? Instead of like hush hush, right? And fucking, it is what it is, bro.
Maybe if you got made fun of more in high school for getting high, then you would have fucking stopped. Who knows? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or something like that. Like nowadays,
let's
bring shame back a little bit.
Hey, I say it all the time, bro. I don't know. I'm biased towards like the 90s or whatever, but I think it was the best generation. The music, like hands down, movies, like you know what I mean, like fucking cartoons, like anything. There's like. But like now, like you used to know like what good movie was coming out. You used to be able to go to a movie theater. There'd be something up. There'd be multiple things up, right? And you knew it was coming out. And everything, like the music was like off the hook. You know what I'm saying? They're still trying to replicate it. It'll never be. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the biggest thing that these I wish it came back around or whatever. Like when people talk like the woke movement or people talk about bullying and harassing this and that, it's like. Bro, I don't know where you came from, right? But when I say I wouldn't change where I came from, right? Who the fuck didn't get bullied or harassed, right? And like where I'm from, right? There's a fine line, and like like it's crazy as much. And come to Boston if you don't believe it, but like we show love, like our affection through like breaking balls or pointing something out. Hey, what's up, dude? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Hey, wipe it off your mouth. You know what I mean? Like, and humor, right? And like if you can't laugh at yourself, like number one, like you need to fucking humble yourself a little bit. You know what I mean? Because you're not that important, right? But you do matter, right? So like we'll give you that, but like don't take yourself too serious. You know what I'm saying? And like I feel like where we came from, we didn't have an opportunity to take ourselves too serious, and that to me is a fucking superpower, bro. Because you get thick skin, right? We know the difference between fucking. It's very easy to know, right? Like there's no like. Is this a problem? Is this dude serious?
Yeah,
right?
Right.
Or is it a joke? You know what I mean? And if we, it's like this. If we like you, we love you. We don't know how to show love any other way. And so if we're playing around with you, right? Yeah, maybe put it this way. I say all the time, I'm like, bro, when I break balls, like. Subconsciously, like I want you to say something back. Tell me fucking I got big ears. Tell me, you know what I mean?
Right.
Tell me fucking I got a receding hairline. I don't know. But like, come on, bro. You know what I mean?
Get a little gray on the
side.
side.
You know what the crazy thing is, B? It's funny because like dudes that I run across and stuff that are like, I can't even help myself, but like that are like timid or like kind of like nerdy or geeky, and like I'll like joke with them, right? And like however I'll joke with them. And they like, rather than run, they contract. And it's almost like, bro, like, you know what I mean? We can do this all day, but like, it's people want to be recognized, right? Which they should, right? And they should feel that, and to be able to do that, like, even through a joke or something, you know what I mean? We get serious when it's time to get serious. But as far as the lace up, buddy, like I said,
what's been your favorite moment?
The favorite moment.
Oh, you were talking about me. Go ahead. No, sir.
No, I'm saying, but the Lace Up podcast started because, like I said, I met you. I loved what you were doing, right? And, I came and met you, whatever. And, you gave me the green light, and I said, yeah, we lace up. That's like a incarceration, a prison term, whatever. But it's just. We didn't start this, like me and Deb, we didn't start this like for like a catchy fucking logo or like a catchy saying like to us, like, yeah, it all sounds good or whatever, but there's like a bigger picture, and like I always try to like remind us that, and me and Deb have had these talks before because, we've started out, and you, as much as like you or Matt, you try to like, you know what I mean, and we try to pick your brains a little bit, we probably should have did a little more. But like the growing pains and everything, and like the fact of the matter is you've been doing this for a long time, you know what I mean? And like you've been putting in work, and like and so as much as like life happens, you know what I mean? There's a lot of shit going on and stuff, and like, but we get into it and we get passionate about it, right? And things are rolling, and then like when there's a little like glitch or whatever, sometimes you get why ain't this happen? You know what I mean? Or even working with another guy or whatever. And I just try to keep it I try to always remind myself that we started this thing out, and it's called exactly what it is for the simple fact, and I want people to know this, right? Is that like lace up is like a terminal. It's like the analogy of like you wake up for work, bro. You tie your boots, right?
Yeah, I was just gonna say that.
You tie your boots, bro. Right? That's right.
Anything. You go into the office, right? I'm sure you're not going in Crocs.
Yeah,
right?
bro. That's it. Yeah, you're in the can. Yeah, you're always ready, right? You're showing up, right?
Leave the house, you should be laced up.
You're showing up, bro, right? And like rain, sleet, snow, shine, whether you like it or not. To me, like, and I think we have talked about it. I think we mastered the way of like, today, like I feel like it's hard to be. It's a good like armor to wear when like. No one could like fucking challenge me more than I can challenge myself. No one could be harder on me, right? So like I try to do that when need be, right? When the time's right. And I know you do the same thing, because there's the days I'm weak, the days I don't feel like doing it. There's a lot of those days, bro. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, sure.
I have an addictive personality. You know what I mean?
So what is
like an alcoholic? I want to go. I want to get big and not go to the gym. I want to fucking. I want to get. I want to get money and not work, bro. Right? Like I'm no different, right?
But
I'll say it all the time.
Helicopter ride to the
yeah,
summit.
bro.
But it's okay to want that, but that's not reality. Not for a man.
And I will say this. I will say this. The one thing growing up that, you know, and you said it too, where my ego, I never robbed anything high, right? You know, I wasn't going in passing notes, right? Like, you're a drug addict, so, you know what I mean? It's okay, right? But, like, you know, so I labeled myself these things and then, like, followed through on, like, this is what this would be. Yeah. And, like, so this is what I had to be, right? And that's not who I was inside, right? So, like, and I just fucking carried that and tortured myself with that. But, yeah, I lost my train.
So I wanted to ask you, what are some of the thoughts, or, like, I don't know, the self-talk? At least I have the self-talk about myself. Days I wake up, sometimes I just wake up and I'm like, fuck, bro, yeah. I don't know what. Maybe I was having a good dream or just waiting for, you know, whatever life is gonna bring me. But, like, what are some things you tell yourself on those days where you feel like, you know, maybe not, you know, doing whatever brings the day, you know what I mean? Not doing the podcast, right? Not doing anything of your responsibilities that you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
What's that self-talk sound like?
Well, what I do, you know, I tell myself, I think about, number one, I try not to think about myself, right? But I don't know, whether it's kind of sick to me, like, it's like probably crazy to say, like, I challenge myself, like, where, like, I say all the time, right? And I love talking like this because I know it fucking aggravates probably a lot of people out there, right? And I say too, like, if you're offended or, like, aggravated about anything I say, then you probably should be, you know what I mean? Because the only thing that upsets people is when they know something's true or they feel something's true about themselves, right? And I'm not talking about anyone in general. So if you think I'm talking about you, right?
If the shoe fits.
Yeah. right. Exactly. If you're thinking of me, you're fucking nuts. Because fucking I can't get out of my own head.
Same, bro. Same.
But like I'll use I basically the way I grew up and stuff like that, and it's like, you know, all this the language and stuff like that, but, like, we can still use it, dude, right? You know, I'm still young at heart, right? Yeah. I can still, you know.
I know. Sometimes I tell myself, when the fuck are you gonna grow up?
Hey, Bob, like, who wants to grow up, dude? When people say that, it's like, fuck you, dude.
No one has said it.
Yeah.
I just, in my head.
And I'd say, in my thing, and you probably heard me say it, like, I'll joke around. Like, I'll say to AA meetings, I'm like, just to not even get a reaction, dude. For myself, I need to say it because, like, I'm nuts, and I'll be like, you know what? I'm like, put it this way, bro. Like, and in my head, I'm like, all right, maybe I'll hit, like, one of these younger kids, one of these, you know what I mean? You know, because, you know, they need to, you know what I mean? They need to be humbled a little. One of these kids, or the kid over there with the mean bug, it's like, and I'll be like, yeah, you know what? I'm like, yeah, for all the gangsters in here, you know, I just want to tell you, I'm so gangster, bro. I make fucking sobriety cool. You know what I mean? Like, where it's like, just joke around and make light of it, where it's like, and on those days, what I'll say is, like, I'll challenge myself, bro. How tough are you, kid? Right. How much? What are you really about? Right. What are you really about, kid? Yeah. And I'll tell myself this, right? And I'm like, fucking. And I'll just.
And then you go. Then you lace up and go about your day, you know.
I don't always, bro.
Yeah.
But I tell you what, when I do, I feel like the person I'm supposed to be. When I do, I somehow have been able to help people, or at least, you know what I mean? The craziest thing to me is, like, opening your mouth and getting vulnerable and fucking showing who you are and really wearing your heart on your sleeve has attracted more to me and given me more opportunities and opened more doors for me, right, than anything before, right? Like, keep your fucking, your titles, you're foolish, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want that shit, bro, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, I just want to be, like, I want to be part of the team, bro, you know what I mean? And just as when I was out there, nothing changes, bro. When I was out there doing my thing, like, I didn't want to, I wanted fucking, I was like drug dealing. It's like, I wasn't going to make that much because I want everyone to have fun, dude. I just wanted fucking, I wanted everyone to have fun, right? And, like, if I could be the man doing it, like, that's great. Yeah. But, like, now I switch it over to, like, you know, to like the same type of thing. Like fucking, I want, like, I don't want to enjoy this, like this feeling here, bro. Like that there, it's like, I don't know, maybe I was probably just didn't want to fucking be alone, fucking getting partying and shit like that. Now it's like, why wouldn't I want someone to feel this? You know what I mean? Yeah. There's no better feeling, and it gets me amped up. It gets me pumped up, and like talk about high on life. You know what I mean? Like that's a beautiful feeling. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And that, cool. All like saying something, and it's like, if like in my head I'm like, I know I'm fucking retarded, right? but I know that like I know that I am, like, what you see is what you get, so I can hang my hat on that. And like the craziest thing is when you have someone come up to you, right, a stranger, like someone come up and say, it was good to hear you. No one ever said that. No one ever said that. Why would they? Why should they?
Yeah.
If they did, they probably wanted something on the fucking cuff. You know what I mean? But like people say that to you, like, you know, it was good to hear you, because they relate, bro.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
It's a good feeling, man.
And that's what I wanted to. I wanted to come out here tonight. I wanted to say, like, you know, we're not going nowhere. You know what I'm saying? Like Deb's on a little hiatus, like taking a little mental health break. But like the show goes on. The show goes on, bro. Right? The show goes on.
Absolutely.
Right? And if I'm fucking, if I get a sprained ankle, fucking, so Deb will fucking pick up the slack. Or you pick up, you know what I mean? We all pick up each other and stuff. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like that's how I look at this thing.
So we talked about, you know, that feeling of someone telling you, hey man, I needed to hear that. It was cool to hear you or whatever like that. So what's been like some of the bad experiences as far as like, you know, maybe putting yourself out there, you know, doing this? I guess it take, you know, like you got to probably have thick skin to even do some shit like this. Put yourself out there to the nameless, faceless trolls and all that stuff online. So talk about some of the things that kind of are the downside of being a famous, you know, social media. Even though
you know
I
what?
say that in jest, but like, you know what I mean? But talk about putting yourself out there, and then I guess some of the downsides of that, and how you deal with it.
You know what? Honestly, it's my perception. It's what am I doing? It all comes down to what am I doing? It never did nor ever will have anything to do with anyone else, right? So if I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, right? You can't touch me, right? And I'm on point, and I'm feeling good.
That's good.
Right? If I'm off, now I get some chinks in the armor, right? You might be able to slide in there, but here's the thing, right? Like, that's fine, right? Because I'm sick too, right? So like, right? I'll just fucking blast up that ego and be like, you know what I mean? Oh, you say it, right? Yeah. So it's like, all right, do you want to do this? Because that's the thing. Like something like when I'm enjoying, or like when I'm responding to a thing and saying like, oh, who said like that dude said something, whatever. And he's like, oh, like yeah, what are you talking? Like, who told you that or something? Or like, and I'm like, yeah, your mother. You know what I mean? It's like go back to like fucking old school. It's like, like, what do you want to do here, kid? You know what I mean? And right, no, silly shit. Yeah.
Because you have to.
And it's like,
silly.
And honestly, I thank God you know, I think I fucking matured a little bit, you know, since I started living a little differently. You know what I mean? You know, I stopped doing things my way, and I fucking, you know, and I sought the truth or whatever, and I just fucking
go with the program.
Go with the program, baby. You know what I mean? And
Absolutely.
like, and it was so much easier, bro. And like, and so now when I hear like when those people do that, bro, like it's funny because Dev, like I forget, like to me he's an old soul.
Forget how young he is.
To him, for me, like I'm his fucking peer because I'm a child, but he's like mature.
right. So you guys meet in the middle.
Right? So it's perfect. But like I forget that he's like young and like he'll start going back and forth with people and stuff. And like then he'll like bring me like I don't even know what's going on, bro. And then I'm like, all right, here's a life. Like I don't think about it, but I feel like it naturally kicks in. The Stevie and the Richie, those talks that they'd have with me, right? It's like sometimes I don't even realize it, but I'm like Joe, like whether you want, like realize or not, want it or want to acknowledge it, like the fact of the matter is, like this kid's 20 years younger than you, right? And he's still learning, and he actually is, he looks for you for guidance, and it's like, you know, so, in which is a great feeling, you know what I mean? You know, and there's many times I want to be like, bro, like, you don't want my guidance. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
But there's certain things I can say, like when it comes to that shit, you know what I mean? To let him know, like, fucking, bro, you know, like who wouldn't want Bobby Lukas? Who wouldn't want fucking Matty Tottenham? Who wouldn't want the good guys? Like who wouldn't want a good guy on your team? Of course, dude, everyone does. But you know what the thing is? Everyone wants that guy on their team, right? But not everyone deserves that guy, right? And like, you know, I don't know. It's just, you get in where you fit in, bro. You know what I mean? Like that, at the end of the day, all the shit on social media, bro. I will remind myself that, like, if that shit's bothering me, I'm a human being, dude. That shit, you know what I mean? But like, I don't. You really can't. There's not much, you know what I mean? And like, there's not much, you know what I'm saying? And like, because that's another thing that we learned growing up, like, not to like fucking like brag. Like, I feel like fucking, I may not be able to, like, you know, always complete a sentence or, like, you know, structure it properly or, like, speak eloquent. But, like, listen, if you want to get into a war of words, like, I'm quick with it. You know what I mean? Like,
Absolutely.
right? Like, we learned that a long time ago. So I try to just focus on the good shit or whatever. There's plenty of us soldiers out there. You know, I'll leave it up to more Beezy, you know what I mean? Like, you know, there's plenty of the guys out there, you know what I'm saying, that will fucking rifle off, you know, King A's fucking this guy, that guy. You know, there's plenty of them. Why do I need to do it? You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Hey, let these guys, you know what I mean? I don't want to end anymore, you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely, man. And I can't, you know what it is for me too? It's like sometimes I'll reply back. That's about where it ends, because then it's like now I'm starting to invest way too much time. I'm already late doing what I'm supposed to do. Like, damn, this video should have been out yesterday, and I'm spending a half hour on BS, bro. When it's like I got stuff I gotta actually do, man. And that's the only thing about it sometimes for me, is it becomes a distraction. But then it's like juggling that line of I want to engage with my followers and my supporters and the people who are saying good things. But then again, it's like, damn, like you see certain shit, it's like you don't even, I don't want to get into all that too. So sometimes I'm not even gonna look. But then again, I want to, you know,
of
get back
course
to the
you
people
do, bro.
who are bigging me up. And for the most part, it is more positive than negative. And these are the things that I feel like I have to remind myself of. Why am I concentrating on this one dude who's trying to get under my skin when I got 10 people like, yo, fire.
Bobby, check it out though. And then they don't even deserve the fucking combo, you know. But like, the fact of the matter is, like you said, trolls, like, listen. You can say whatever, right? I'll have no choice but to respect it if you do it right. Show your face and do it right. Like, dude, you know what I mean? I'll take, well, so,
you shouldn't,
so like that there, and then I always think, like, in my head, this is what gets me, I think, out of it, where I'm like, listen, I know, like, I'm fucking outwardly, like, you know what I mean? I'm outwardly nuts, right? I'll tell you, like, my mind, you know. But like, you can be nuts and be a good person, then you can be fucking a scumbag. You know what I mean? So like, listen, don't worry. You know, you can be quirky, you can be yourself, whatever, but just have a good heart and stuff. But those people, it's like, I can't fathom in my head. It doesn't make sense. So it's like, there's no point in me thinking about it. That someone is sitting there and thinking about. It's like, bro. Like, I'm cool, but I'm not that cool, bro. Get a life, you fight, you know what I mean? Like you either want to fight me or fuck me, you know what I mean? Tell me what it is.
Yeah, one or the other, no doubt, man. So it's been a while since you've been here. I want to, you know, get into a little bit about what you've been up to since the last time you've been here. I forget if the Ian Bick thing was before or after, but you went on a couple platforms, 1090 Jake, all of that.
Yeah.
So talk a little bit about those experiences and maybe some things you might have learned from that.
All right, so yeah, we you know, we had the. I mean, we started out, bro, and we didn't know what we were doing. You know what I mean? You look at our early videos and stuff like that. But I remember you saying to us, bro, just keep going. I remember, you know, certain people. A lot of the things. The one thing that I remember many people had said is like, stay consistent, like keep grinding, stay consistent, keep pushing it out, keep pushing it out. You know what I mean? And I always try to stick to that. Right? It didn't always happen that way. You know what I mean? But we. it's, you know what I mean? Like we did the best we could or whatever, you know what I mean? With what we had, and it had to be all right. You know, yeah, we had some cool guests and stuff like that. The one thing I do love, and I'm glad that we did it, and I said it to Dev, like, yours is the same way. Like, we didn't pigeonhole ourselves, if that's the right term, where like we didn't put ourselves like in this category over here, right? So like, lace up to me is like Dev, like that. There's so many avenues.
Absolutely.
And I'm gonna get into that in a sec, because like the bigger picture to me, and I try to say to him, I'm like, bro, like, this thing don't stop. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, there is the traction will come. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
We gotta, the traction will come, and you know, and it will be well worth it. You know, we have the laced up lyrics. Like I told you, I write, bro. You know what I mean? I just started playing around with some shit that for a long time. I told you, when I first came here, I read poetry.
Yeah.
The one thing I try to express that I could never communicate is all I wanted to do is ghostwrite. And all I wanted to do was see how my lyrics would sound with the beat, right?
Right.
They have this AI shit out there, bro.
Oh, shit, nice.
It's like, what? Right? I fucking wrote a song for my daughter, dude. I'm like fucking sending shit to Jelly Roll. Like,
wow.
I'm like, fucking, he's gonna sing this at fucking Fenway Park, right? Like, yeah, it was AI generated. I wrote the motherfucking lyrics, bro.
That's
you know what I mean? So like, and I told you that before. So there's so many like avenues and stuff, right? And with that, I'll touch more on it. But like, I got something coming out in the summertime, whatever. I think it's gonna be that summer jam, whatever. King Ace is involved, or whatever. More Beezy, Exit Fame, all these dudes, right? Like, line up, because honestly, the one thing, like I say, I will never sit here and even attempt, like, I won't give you the chance, right? That's one thing as a kid, and I might be a little looser now, but like, to be ridiculed or embarrassed or whatever, if like I don't believe it, I don't know it's true, and there's very few things that is, but like with the writing and stuff like that, I just believe it, right?
Yeah.
And like I feel like if anyone out there that has something they believe in, bro, like, you don't have to answer to no one, you know what I'm saying? You go for it or whatever, and like, and it's gonna manifest the way it's supposed to,
Absolutely.
We have, and with the podcast, I did Ian Bick or whatever. That was, Devin was like the agent, bro. You know what I'm saying? He's like, I'm the old man, bro. And Devin's like, yeah, this dude, that dude. He wants me to go on Adam 22. I'm like, Dev.
Yeah.
I'm like, what?
Yeah.
He just wants to go to LA, bro.
Was there anything
1090 Jake?
you learned
1090
from these
Jake
experiences though, that you could maybe take with you? Because he's a big, he's a big guy on YouTube.
So
man.
I learned. This is what I learned. I learned that like. That when us like we haven't sold out, like I haven't sold out in fucking 46 years, bro. Like I know that this is a business, I know it's a thing. I wanna, if anything materializes, it does. Like if anything, I'll just fucking, I'll ride with B Luke and fucking I'll be, you know what I mean?
That's all we need.
And I'll be as, and because I know like that's all it is, bro. I don't need much. Like as long as like this thing meant something, and like we got somewhere, and like I said, we all push each other and everything like that. And going on there, there was some good things, there were some bad things.
Yeah.
I went on Ian Bick. I think I was all like fucking amped up or whatever. I probably had fucking 3 Red Bulls, and and I wasn't really comfortable.
Yeah.
It wasn't like sitting down with you.
Okay.
Nice kid and everything, obviously, nerdy or whatever, you know what I mean? As much as I would have liked to relate to like prison stuff, you know what I mean? Like, we did different time and stuff like that,
yeah.
which is fine. And I told my story. I was all over the place, and I was just like, it didn't, and which was fine, right? Like I say all the time, and I'll never stop saying it, because I feel like that's how we combat like fear and like fucking like people that try to shut that shit down because they're scared. It's like, bro, I can sit there and stutter, turn red in the face, fucking freeze up, whatever the case, right? and like you can notice that and fucking do what you want with it. But at the end of the day, you can't fuck up the truth. So if you know what I mean. Yeah. And I tell guys that when they get like nervous about that. In that day, like I was saying, like a lot. You know what I mean? I was just fucking.
Yeah. You probably heard somebody else saying that.
I wasn't nervous. No, so anyway, long story short, I don't give a fuck, right? I told my story and like, I mean, dude, people evolve, people grow up and stuff like that. It's like I said, I love a good war story, right? Yeah. But like, now Ian Bick, here's the thing, bro. I'm not a clickbait, right? I'm a fucking like, I'm a person, right? And this is my story, and like, you're not gonna, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not a clickbait thing where like in Jews, I say like people don't understand. What I realized with that, and it was like tough pill to swallow a little bit, but I'm like I get it. Like I'm not. There's not much that surprises us these days. That people don't care if something's fake, if it's not true, if it's like a lie, not even true, or if it's not like. People don't care. They just want to be entertained.
I mean, look at
I'm
AI.
not a clown, dude. You're not a clown, right?
Yeah.
So like, okay, like there's plenty of them out there. I'm not gonna. I don't want to compete with them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and I'm okay with it, right? Like I don't need. You know what I mean? Like whatever's gonna happen is gonna happen. It's like it's gonna happen, like naturally. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Organically.
With that shit there, you know, to me, like, I don't know. I don't. People are people and stuff like that, and I don't take it personal. But like, you know, I think you're either a phony or you're like scared to death, right? And it's like scared to death. I'll give you like because we can work with that, but like you know, you can't be a phony, you can't be fake, and like I just noticed that. Like I don't know. My thing is this: like to each their own. I know myself personally that like. It would be detrimental to my own well-being if I was to do something to get like to get something on YouTube or something like that, right? Yeah. I would disrespect my family. I would disrespect myself, and I know you're the same way. You know what I'm saying? And they can have it. You know what I mean? And Devin, like I said, like that shit would aggravate him and stuff, and I'd be like, Dev, listen. But we're who we are, you know what I'm saying?
But especially someone with such a big platform, like anything with a lot of views, my biggest views is always the one with the most hate too.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? But sprinkled.
And I want you that when he comes up here, he's gonna come visit us, whatever. I want to bring him here actually.
Oh, that'd be fun.
So 1090 Jake, right? Again, I joke with Devin like I grew up in Charlestown, bro. You know what I mean? Devin's a young kid from Lowell, right? I say like he's like the liaison. I said you're like the wiggle liaison. So like if I don't understand a language, you gotta like bridge the gap. The gap.
It's a generational thing too.
Right?
It's not just that,
no, I know. Yo, but I love it because he fucking dies, and I'm like, so we went down there, and the one thing I will say, dude, the kid, he was exactly what you see. He did the right thing by us. He didn't know us from a hole in the wall.
Yeah.
Right?
No, that's a big.
He don't need to do that.
Not at all.
He came and met us or whatever. We talked, we chopped it up and stuff like that. He grew up completely different, right? But I know he's a homeboy essentially. Mm-hmm. He's from Malden. He went down there, right? And he is part of his environment, right? Yeah. He grew up in like around fucking gang shit and stuff like that. That's foreign to us, right? So. And the thing I loved about him is that he was authentic, right? And like I always say, bro, anyone that can be themselves, I don't care if you're white, black, I don't care if you're gay, straight, I don't care if you're a guy, like girl. Yeah. If you're you, bro, and you own it, I think that's the best thing, bro. You know what I'm saying?
I got friends like that some people are like, they just can't stand. They're too much, like some other friends can't really stand. I'm like, nah, I don't care, bro. He's himself at least. I'd rather be with somebody who's like perceived as like, yo, he's a little crazy. What's up with him? Like, he's himself. He's not wearing that.
It's the best thing, and that's why.
I love it. You know what to expect.
And going back to, now here's a kid, like I say, there's something to be said about that because, like, that's powerful shit, at least to me, where it's like, where I grew up, dude, like that wasn't a thing. You know what I'm saying? Like we grew up differently, but like, that's the whole thing where like, are you part of the clique? Are you a follower, or do you have your own mind? Do you have your own identity? Where it's like, bro, I've been through enough where like like, you don't get to tell me who I get to fuck, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like, I noticed with him, that kid, no one would be talking shit about him if he didn't like blow up. If he didn't fucking, like, to me, like, that was meant to, you know, meant to happen.
Well, there's a whole lane of talking shit about people who blew up, and that's how some other people blow up. That is a lane, so I logically see how people do it, but me personally, not that I judge anybody who you know what I mean, makes a living off of putting other people down. I see it. It's a lane. I can see it. I'm not stupid, but it's not for me.
No, of course.
You know what I mean?
And the one thing I do want to add this where, you know, that's the best part is like, dude, if you've endured something, if you've been through something, right, like, you don't ever question if you're eligible or if you've earned the right to fucking speak on that, you know what I'm saying? Whether anyone wants to hear it, but like, my thing is this, like, I'm not with the whole fucking, like, I'm older now, right? Even when I was younger, that shit didn't impress me. Where, you know, there's a lot of people, like, they're like, even spending the time, like, oh, the dude's fucking, no, you wrote it. So here's the thing. I'm not going to sit down with someone that put someone in jail. I'm not going to sit down with someone that fucking ruined someone's life, that someone, you know what I mean? That's never going to happen. But I'm not God where it's like, and here's the thing where people get it fucked up, right? And dudes will be online like, you know, oh, what table, like, if, you know, if someone, personally, and maybe, like, I don't give a fuck whether you want to hear it or not, right? Like, I've come to the, where it's like, if this kid at 18 years old, let's say, right? Let's say he's in fucking a county jail in Dade County. He's fucking scared to death, right? Like fucking most people would be, right? And gets fucking attacked or whatever. He's fucking shook, dude, right? Right? Not because he's a pussy, right? He's a fucking kid, right?
Yeah.
And he writes a thing, and he's like scared for his life, whatever, right? Like, should he have done it? No. Would I have done it? No. Right? Like, should he have done it? No. But I don't feel like, who am I to persecute a kid at 18, 19 that let's say, like, that's their thing. Like, he said, put a note in to say, like, get me off this block, right? Like, there's a lot, and I guarantee a lot of the people that fucking have something to say, right? They got some skulls in their closet because, my thing is this, I don't know, like, if that's what you're going on, fucking King Kong, right? No. Like, fucking stop it, you know what I mean? A kid from Lynn, a kid from here, it's like, bro, you know, knock it off, right? And it's like, bro, like, that's what I mean. It's like, you either want to fight the kid or fuck him. And it's like, the craziest thing is, bro, I noticed the biggest hate is on him, aside from like an angry, like, black dude, right? Yeah. Right? Because like, he has like, all his friends are black, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And is like kids like just like him, dude. Kids that like honestly dress like him, like, and I'm like, that's so weird, bro. You know what I mean? That, like, that's like, they don't even realize how fucking foolish they are. Like, they think they're like making a statement or proving something, and like, people you don't have to agree with that. I'm just saying, like,
if you gotta tell people like how ill you are and how tough you are.
But like, I mean, and let me ask you, because what's your opinion on that? Like, I honestly want to know. My thing is, I didn't always think like this. Let's say, right? And there'd be a time when I probably wouldn't even bring this up, right? Or even have this thought. But like, how do you feel about that? Where like, I'm not condoning, like, I'm saying I wouldn't do it. And like, but for me to persecute a kid at 18 or 19 that fucking PC'd off a block or whatever, right? Like, did he put someone in jail? And is there paperwork to prove it? Is there the person to prove it? If that's the case, yeah, he's a piece of shit then, you know what I mean? But that has never, you know what I mean, John? Yeah. So it's like, until then, it's like, what are we doing here, bro? That's the fucking stupid, we talked about it, that nonsense, bro. You know what I mean? Like, fucking, oh, you did a statement or whatever, right? Like, how about, you know, let's identify the fucking source, right? But, you know, I'm sure a lot of, you know, oh, did you go in where you strung out when you were in? Well, you're a drug addict, and that's okay, right? That's great, because fucking, if you turn it around, we people like us run fucking, I believe we make things happen, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
You know, so don't be down on yourself, but like own what it is. You know what I mean? Like I feel like when we label ourselves, I'll speak for myself. That was my biggest mistake when I try to label myself and like this is who I am. I am who I am. I don't get to to be like pick.
Right, yeah. Just like certain nicknames and all that stuff.
But yeah, he was very good to us, and he's gonna come up and see us and stuff like that.
Fire.
So that was a great experience. I said to Deb, bro, at the end of the day, you started this thing out a year ago, right? And look at the people we've met, bro.
Yeah.
He goes, dude, we went to Tampa, bro.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It was fun. You know what
absolutely.
I mean?
You got to enjoy the journey. I would like to get more and more into it. We only have a little
Of course,
bit of
buddy.
time
No,
left.
honestly, I could talk to you all night. And
I know. So I want to like kind of end it on a
Yes.
on a note where it's like, okay, what's the future for the Lace Up podcast? What's in the short term future, and what are the goals long term, bro?
We'll stick to the short term. I mean, the long term, like I said, the bigger picture, bro, is like this thing don't stop, and it don't stop for any of us. And like the sky's the limit. Like you said, the mindset. That's what has worked for me. That's what's worked for many people. Positivity, all the like shit that you like may have made you be embarrassed or ashamed or fucking scared of when I was a kid. I've learned that fucking like stepping up and like fucking doing those things, like you realize like you don't sell yourself short and stuff like that. So as far as like the bigger picture, like I said to Deb, like there's so many avenues. We're not like pigeonholed. This thing, yeah, it's a recovery themed, but like what's recovery, bro? Right? And like even with that, like people don't realize we're like
the underlying issue. Which anybody can relate to.
The crazy
mental
thing
health.
is, dude, like it's like in the words can be so powerful, right? But like they're also so insignificant. But like we give them that power, where it's like even recovery, where it's like, bro, the crazy part is as much of a stigma and this and that, and like there's shame and guilt involved with it. I will look you in the camera and tell you, dude, the people in recovery are doing better than anyone, bro. You know what I mean?
Fire.
Like what they, they might have had to go through that or whatever, right? And whether it's justified, you get to fucking, fucking have an opinion on that. It really doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, if I want people to like, that's the whole thing, like recovery, right? People recover from everything every day. You know what I'm saying? Like people have to recover because whether you like it or not, right? At least shit happens. Yeah, shit happens, and I want people to know, like that's the whole part of the Lace Up. I want to, we have big plans. We have like I said, the show don't stop. Whatever, I came here with you. You know what I mean? I'd love to collaborate with you and stuff like that. It'll be an honor. And like I said, you keep us going and stuff, and and I'm just I'm looking forward to the future, whatever, and I know that like I want people to get out there and share their voice and let them know, like, we need to hear your stories, you know what I'm saying? Because, like, our stories, like, it's great, right? But, like, I'm going to have to start touring the country, you know what I mean? Like, no one wants to hear I don't want to hear myself,
No doubt.
But, let's, I just want to make a move, make things happen or whatever. And, like you said, start a movement in, like, Boston and, like, unify and like let's make something happen. There's so much more we can do and so much bigger things that we have on the horizon, and we're just getting started, bro. We ain't going nowhere.
Absolutely, and I'm looking forward to watching the journey and being a part of it, and however I can add value, certainly let me know, bro. I
love
will,
you,
guys.
buddy.
Love you too, bro. Listen, guys, this is the Bounce Back Podcast. B. Luke, Joe Lawler right there. Remember, it is what it is. What's next is what you make it. On that note, we're out of here. Peace, baby.
Bounce back, you got a moment when they see you down this